for you, what makes it a deal? Because I know everyone looks at different metrics: cash on cash return, net cash flow, appreciation, and a deal's different to everyone. So for you, what was it that made this a deal?
For my first one, I really wasn't even thinking about retiring yet. For my first one,
Mm,
I was really thinking about appreciation. What's this going to be worth in 20 years? And does it pay for itself at all? So I really wasn't thinking about cash flow yet. And now it's really about portfolio. So overall, does my cash flow pay for my life? And does the appreciation make my net worth go up every year? So, like you said, I think everybody's numbers have to be really personal to what their personal goals are. For me, it's about that net worth number because I'm already retired. That net worth number needs to go up every year because I'm only in my 50s and I don't have a conventional W-2 anymore. I
hmm.
need to be able to sleep at night. I need that net worth number to be going up every year. And I need my cash flow to pay for my life. That's the two most important things, right?
Okay.
As other than those two things, it's not so important because I am not really making my portfolio get bigger every year. If there's one particular property that's not contributing to those two things, I'll get rid of it and replace it with something else. Right now, all four properties are contributing to those four things. They're all cash flowing and they're all appreciating at the rate that I would want them to. So I
Got it.
think I might have just gotten lucky with the four of them, but we'll see. I also didn't buy them at the very best time, so I think they need a little time to gel and see where they are. I'm only 3, 4 years in with these properties right now, so it's a little early to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, time is definitely one of the biggest benefits in real estate, you know. So how do you determine though in advance if a property is going to appreciate in cash flow?
Right. So I was just talking about that thing about kind of looking beyond the numbers and figuring out that Steamboat was going to be good because of what was happening in the market with Aspen just having bought Steamboat. I've tried to replicate that in every market because
Mm,
you can look at every market with the air DNA values and all of that because I've bought in these vacation markets. They all have that great data out there to see what we think that every market is going to cash flow on a certain property, but I've tried to look beyond the numbers in every single market. So let's just go through them a little bit. So I bought in Orange Beach next, and that wasn't maybe the very smartest buy because I bought a new build there. So
mm.
maybe not the greatest. It barely cash flows, but long term, it's a great 4 bedroom with all ensuite bedrooms on,
Wow.
right backing up to the state park on a beautiful lot. So long term, it's a beautiful home that's going to appreciate beautifully. So right now, it's just doing its job by paying for itself. It gets people in. But they just made the airport in Gulf Shores public. And so my thing there was it's getting better and better. The Gulf State Park is the most beautiful thing, and my house backs up to it. So I just kind of saw this long-term plan there that's going to be something. So again, that's just was a house that I thought would do its job in the long term. It's the
Yeah.
prettiest house that I have, right? And then I
Low maintenance too, being brand new.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then I bought one near Asheville where, kind of similar to Steamboat, it's right at the top of a mountain where there's a ski resort that was closed down when I bought it, but there was a company that was revitalizing the ski resort and reopening it. So it just reopened last year. It's Hatley Point now. It used to
Mm.
be Wolf Ridge, I think it was called. And so we're only a year into it being reopened, but I can see it, right? Like it's coming back. I have already doubled my revenues from the first year to this year.
Wow.
So it's just one of those things, right? Like it really got hit with Helene the first year, so it was pretty rough. This year it's doubled. Well, it should have doubled, right? Because we had hurricane and now the ski resort's open. So it's just one of those things. I try to look at the numbers and then see what's coming, like what's going to happen in 3 to 5 years that's going to make this better than the numbers should show.
Mm.
And then I've got one in Texas as well that's on the river that they hadn't built anything new there in many years. It's right by a dance hall that basically there's no Ubers out there. There's no way to get around for some reason. And so I was like, as soon as they build something new here, I'm going to buy a condo on this river because people are going to want to stay there overnight. Sure enough, everybody performs there. It's just a place where country music stars go. And so sure enough, it's filled every weekend. It makes a lot of money for me. It's just a good, solid performer. So So things like that, just sort of knowing the markets enough to know
Yeah.
what could be a long-term performer, a little bit beyond what the Air DNA would show.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm a big advocate for that as well. Like the path of progress, I think is such a smart strategy. I think a lot of people are drawn to the place that has already been established. You know, the most popular,
Yes.
like you Google, where's the best place to invest in real estate or in short-term rentals, and it's always like the same ones that pop up. And you could just replace where's the best place with where's the most popular place. That's what Google is going to tell you is the most popular because that's where everyone's investing. But it's like buying a stock that's already peaked, you know,
Right.
instead of
Right.
buying one that has really sound fundamentals. And you know there's like for a stock the company's doing things that are going to make it more valuable in the future, and so you can apply that same thing to locations and where are they
Yeah.
building more infrastructure, more amenities, more like opening a new ski resort. Or if you buy
Sure.
right after a hurricane when everyone's like, oh, I want to get rid of my property, like
Yep.
things are going to get better
Yep.
from there. And so I love that strategy. That makes a ton of sense.
Sure. Like
How
where are
how
they
did
expanding a college? Where are they putting a new company in? Like there's all kinds of ways that you could apply this and maybe find somewhere to invest, right?
exactly? Yeah, yeah. I was curious. Like a lot of people ask me about like what do you do if like something unexpected comes up? I know like for the Rockies this winter didn't get much snow at all. It was like one of the driest winters from what I understand. Did that impact your steamboat property or how, what did that look like for you and how'd you navigate that?
You know, not at all. It should
Mhm.
have. I cannot even explain why it didn't. I think that they said it was down in terms of visitors by 15 to 20% overall. My revenues were up 20% or something like
Wow.
that. Now,
Jeez.
now I'm not proud. I'm not ashamed to price mine where it's going to rent. I don't
Hmm.
care if I have all fives, really good reviews. I'm still going to price it where it's going to rent. I
Hmm.
don't need to be the highest. I just need to be the one that rents.
Yeah.
So no problem. I just want to be the hospitable one that gives my customers the best vacation. But I didn't have any problem at all. I may have just gotten lucky. I had some really nice long reservations. I didn't have a lot of cancellations. So I don't know what happened, but I had a really good season. So
That's amazing. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's a great point too. That's part of being a good host is just not setting and forgetting your pricing, but managing based off of what the supply and demand is and managing your calendar and pricing and all of that. It's an art and a science. So that's great. And sometimes it's better to have higher occupancy and lower rates. You make more revenue. Like you said, you're up 20%, which is incredible on a year like
right.
that. So
Well, and I'm curious how you do it. That's the one thing that I outsource completely is my revenue
mm,
management. That's
okay.
even though I've told you about my background and how much I love numbers, I don't love the detailed nature of price labs. So
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
hired a revenue manager and they are on it for me. That's the one thing I really splurge on is somebody to manage the revenue.
got it. Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I actually used a revenue manager for a little bit, just to kind of get their perspective. And we would meet weekly and go through all the numbers and all the metrics. And I learned a lot, but ultimately it wasn't as big of a bump as I would have liked for what I was spending on
Yeah.
that. And so it was good perspective to learn and it was worth the cost. I used them for probably about 6 months.
Mhm.
And then I went back to managing it myself. And um, but we maintain, like I'm with you in terms of pricing it right, and so we maintain on a lot of our properties it's a 90+% um, occupancy rate, which
Wow, that's
sounds
high.
crazy. Yeah, it sounds crazy
Right.
for across like slow season, but we do a hybrid model where we'll give a 20-30% discount for a 30 plus day stay in the off season when
Yeah,
otherwise we would have just had the weekends booked, and so then
sure.
we're making way more money, even
Yeah.
though it's a 20% discount. And sometimes people book 6 months in the off season, fill up our whole off season with one booking, and then we're booked up completely during the peak season. So it's like we maintain almost 100% occupancy then on that property, by kind of doing that hybrid approach and understanding what the supply and demand looks like. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
great. That's really smart.
yeah, yeah. And one thing too you mentioned is, or I've heard you say before, is hospitality is the most important part of the business. Like, what exactly do you mean by that when you say that?
Well, I think it's the most important part, and maybe I just mean it's the most important part to me. Maybe it's the most fun part to me, but I think it also might be the part that I'm afraid is going away. I
Mm,
think people still want to be reached out to when something is wrong, like immediately. I am the person who still, much to the chagrin of my friends and family, has my phone up on the table if I go to dinner, right? Like if somebody has a problem, I'm gonna respond to them right away. Like if my air conditioner has gone out, they're gonna get a message from me right away, and I'm gonna be the one calling the AC guy and getting them over there, right? I just think people want to be taken care of if something goes wrong, and I don't think that AI can do that for the industry. So
mm,
I am of the opinion that that's how we keep the 5-star reviews. And I think sometimes the small owner operators might have the edge on the really big guys if we keep the hospitality at the forefront.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, that I mean it goes hand in hand with high reviews. I think having that approach, which are super important. I guess, is there anything you do specifically that drives those high reviews, or maybe some things that are outside the box, or something that's not fully intuitive that you feel like you do that kind of sets you apart and make sure you always get 5-star reviews?
I think there's some really simple things. When I started in the industry, I got some training from somebody who has really great reputation in the industry, and he told me, you know, you've really got to train your guests pretty early that if something's in the guidebook, send them to the guidebook. And I just thought,
Mm.
oh no, no, no. If someone asks, yeah, and maybe it's because I'm Southern. Maybe it's because I've been trained in this industry that I grew up in, that the customer's always right. But if the customer asks me a question, I don't send them to the guidebook. I just answer the question. You know, I would never send them to the guidebook. So I just answer the questions. And then the other thing is I stock the house with all kinds of stuff. I don't give them one roll of paper towels, which maybe that's the smart thing to do, to be honest. But I put 20 rolls of paper towels in the pantry. I stock all the cleaning stuff that they might need. I try to make sure that a guest has everything they could ever need for their stay. I put the kitchen together as if they're going to cook a Thanksgiving meal. And granted, these are larger homes, but if it's a 3 or 4 bedroom home, I think you should put it together as if they're going to stay there for a while. So stocking the places if they're going to stay there for a while, giving them all of the toiletries that they might need. I learned some early lessons about that. My ski condo that is a 4 bedroom, my cleaners stocked the toiletries at first, and they were the small bottles. And someone stayed and they were paying $2,000 a night, and they just said, look, lady, you know, you gave us these tiny little shampoos and conditioners. We're traveling with suitcases. Do better. And they were right,
Yeah.
you know, and they still get me a good review. And so right away I was like, okay, I gotta get the big good stuff. And sure enough, you know, so learning some early lessons like that and just, you know, little stuff like that, going above and beyond for customers is kind of what I look at as hospitality, and then being available to them. With only 4 properties, that's easy to do. I think it's a real different game when you get to 10 or 20.
Yeah. Yeah, it does make a difference. Every time a guest turns around, if they're searching for something, it just consistently leaves a little bit, it erodes the satisfaction,
Sure.
if it's not there. But if they turn around and it's like, oh wow, they thought about this thing above and
Hmm.
beyond a little bit even, and
Yep.
it's just super convenient, um, they're so happy at the end, and those reviews come. What, I guess, what does your team look like? So having four in four different locations, is it difficult to manage in four different locations, or how do you set up your systems?
I think it's probably significantly more difficult. Worth it to me because, frankly, now I have 4 vacation homes in 4 different places that I get
Yeah.
to take my family. So that's really cool. But 4 different cleaners and 4 different handymen. Now, certainly the technology makes it all so much easier these days. And even taxes have gotten so much easier with the project management software that handles some of that for us. But 4 different cleaners and 4 different handyman is the real basic. Just making sure that you have really good people in each location. I try to go to each place twice a year at least.
Mm,
There are some good new cool things that you can do. I used AI a couple weeks ago to go through all of my messaging for the last 6 months over one of my properties and build me a maintenance list. Said,
mm,
go through all of my messages for Whiskey Hills and pick out every message that had a problem and tell me everything I need to do at Whiskey Hills that might be broken. Now, I was like, what a cool application from
yeah.
between Claude and Hospitable to tell me everything that's wrong with the property.
Yeah. Wow. That is
So
interesting.
that was cool.
Um, yeah. So you mentioned about AI and how some people are using it the right way, and then there's others that you feel like it's going to maybe come back and bite them. What's the difference in your mind, and where do you think the industry is heading with the advent of AI?
Well, I think it's pretty wonderful to start with. I mean, I'm a big proponent of using technology, and I've loved seeing how AI is starting to connect to all of these different pieces and make it easier for us to manage our properties. So, starting with the really positive, I've got Claude connected into Hospitable, which I use to manage my properties, and I'm using it to mine data, do pacing dashboards, 3 month look aheads to just get all of my data into one place, which is incredible. I'm using it for guidebooks now that are just so much slicker than the guidebooks that I was frankly paying a lot of money for. And this is much less expensive because now they're web pages.
Mm,
I'm using it for house guides, for emergency numbers to put on the front door. Just so much slicker than things I used to do. And all of that is great. I have some concerns about the companies that are using AI for all of their messaging. We'll just see where that goes. I think it could bite people. Now that said, I think it's changing every day, and I think
yeah.
I'm the one who could look silly in 3 months when it's way better than the humans, right? So who knows? But so far, I'm thinking that the human touch still has something. I mean, the way you and I are talking today, I just think there's something to how humans are still running things.